Thinking of saving for your child's future? Yeah, that is something that I think about, and maybe you guys as parents think about as well. Like certain things like how am I going to pay for my child's university costs? How am I going to set them up for maybe buy a house or maybe start a business or any of those other things? There are just so many things that I think about. How can I make my child financially ready? How can I make her ready to, cross that world into the adulthood? Those are some things to think about. In today's video, we're going to be talking about UTMAs versus 529s and what could be the best routes that you as a parent could take. Jake Bosquez 4060 left me a message in one of my comments and said, could you talk about UTMAs versus 529s? And the answer is yes. And today we're going to be talking about these. Hey guys, my name is Steve and I run the Frugal Expat website where we try to help people to save more and invest better. Today's video, we're talking about how to invest for your child's future. And if you like this content, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. All right, let's get to it. First of all, when we're thinking about investments for our kids' future, we have to think about what type of account should we put the money in? Should we put it in a regular savings account? Should we put it in a UTMA? Should we put it in a 529? These are all different questions we could be thinking about and thinking about how can we save for our child's future? If my child is 1 or 2 years old and I have about 15, 16, 17, maybe even 18 years until they hit that time to go off to university, time to go into real world, what can I do financially ready for them? Well, with all that time, you have something called compounding interest that could help them create a lot of money quicker, or not quicker, but more efficiently than putting it in the bank. Now, with a bank account, a savings account, most rates right now are sitting at 4%. But will they be 4% in the next 10, 15, or 20 years? We don't know. They could be lower. They could be 1%. They could be 2%. If we started a savings account and started with about $5,000 and invested $100 every single month and put it in a savings account, that amount of money will grow to, if we use like the rate of 3%, that money will grow to about $30,100. That's great news. You have just saved almost like a year's worth of tuition, or maybe half a year's worth of tuition, depending on what the costs are. Now, if we were to invest that in a simple index fund that tracks the US market, that could get anywhere between 8 to 10% yearly. If we just use a conservative number of 8%, same amount of money, $5,100 per month, that will grow to about $48,443. Now that is a good bit of more money. That's about $18,000 more. So that is the power of compounding interest. Start investing it instead of putting it in a savings account, and it could grow and grow. There is a little bit more risk, but there's also a little bit more return. So that's just a little bit about that. So the child has a lot more time for it to grow into the future. So let's look at some different accounts that we could start, putting that money and investing it for the future. Now, there are two main accounts. That is the UTMA and the 529. These have different purposes and they are different types of accounts. UTMA is a custodial account that is for the child to invest their money. A 529 is a tax advantage educational account for the money to be used for education purposes. So we're going to break these down and we're going to see what is the best. If you stay to the end of the video, I'm going to share what my opinion is and what I would do if I was in your shoes. All right, let's get to it. What is a UTMA? A UTMA is a Uniform Transfer to Minors account. In simple terms, it's a custodial account. Basically, what it is you invest money for that child, and at the age of anywhere between 18 to 21, depending on the state you live in, that child will take control of the money and can use it for anything they like. Now, what are the goods and bads of this? Well, first of all, the goods is it's quite flexible. I mean, you can invest in almost anything like stocks, real estate. You can invest in royalties. You can invest in this and that. And you can open these in most brokerage accounts. And that's good news for you. And you got the flexibility of picking and choosing which investments go in this. You can then take this amount, and when the child gets older, you can teach them about investments and show them what they think. And then they can actually have some input on it if you want to do that. And at the age of 18 to 21, they can now use that account to do whatever they want. If they want to put a down payment on a house, they can. If they want to buy a car, they can. If they want to use this money for education purposes, they can. If they want to maybe have a wedding, well, this is money for that. There are just so many different things that this can do. And this creates flexibility. Now, some of the cons could be that, first of all, it is not tax advantage. It is taxed at the kid's tax level. Wow, kid doesn't make much money, so probably not any taxes at all until they start having a job and making some money. Secondly is once that account is put in that child's name, it can't be switched to any other person's name. So it is that child's money until they come of age and they can have it. That could be a con. Another one is if you're looking for educational purposes, it could be a negative for the child's financial aid. This is an asset under the child, so the more assets this child has, the less financial aid this child can receive. That could be a negative. And another negative could be that maybe the child may spend it unwisely and may think, oh, that money just went up in smoke. That could be another negative. So those are some negatives and those are some pros. You know, flexibility, invest a lot of things, could be great for the future, could be a negative as in more taxes and all sorts of other things. But that's just something to look at. UTMA is great if you're trying to teach your child how to invest, create generational wealth, even be able to have wealth for the future to kind of buy a house, start a business, do all sorts of other things. This is a good step for a child to have kind of a step ahead of the competition. So that's just a couple of things to think about. Now, what about a 529? Now, a 529 is different because it is a tax advantage account that is in the name under the parent. This is for educational purposes. So each state has their own different accounts. Each state has different rules and different regulations. Some states will allow you to have tax deductible money to put into the account. Now, I'm originally from Florida, and Florida doesn't have any state taxes, so there's no really point to have any deductions, but that it could be something you look into. If you're in a state that has state taxes, then this could be a way to kind of deduct those taxes. It could be a way to build for your child's future. Now, what exactly is a 529? Now, a 529 plan is a tax-advantaged account for educational purposes. Now, right now, it could be used for anywhere between K to 12, to college, to maybe technical school, beauty school. It could even be used for the parents' educational purposes. Yeah, very interesting, right? So this plan is not specific for any child. Let's say you have 3 kids. You make a plan for one kid number A, kid, the first one, and he decides or she decides not to go to university, not to seek any education. Well, that money could be put into child number B or 2, or the third one. It could also be put into the parent's name. Let's say the parent wants to go back to school, but the child doesn't want to do school. Well, the parent could use that money as well. And there's some other things that have been changing in the recent past. Like you could also use this money, since it's tax advantaged, you could roll over some of it into the child's Roth IRA. Yeah, it could be $35,000 could be rolled over into a child's Roth IRA. How cool is that? Now, like I said, 529 plans are a little bit different than UTMAs. There's a little bit less flexibility with investments. So you cannot just pick and choose all the different investments you want. So like I said, if you want QQQ as your number one investment, well, not all 529 plans have that. Like I said, I'm originally from Florida, and so I took a look at the 529 plans for my daughter. And so I was looking and taking a look, and it's got portfolios are mixed. It's got professional managed portfolios, or you can select your own. So I went to the select your own, and I saw I could get some large cap US stocks. Oh, that's great. It's a Vanguard index fund with 0.02%. I like Vanguard. I like their index fund. That would be pretty good. It's got a US total stock market index fund as well, and that's by Vanguard as well. So they have a lot of index funds, but they're limited on these funds. I mean, there may have been 5 to 10, and they were all pretty much Vanguard. I didn't look through them all, but I looked through the ones I would choose, and they're Vanguard, and they're low expense ratios. So these are just some things you have to consider. Low amount of choices. And these 529 plans also need to be done for education purposes. There is a 10% penalty if it's not paid for educational purposes. So you gotta think about that. And if they are spent for educational purposes, they are tax free. It's a tax advantage account that when the money comes out for education purposes, it is tax free. That's good news. That's some great pros for this. And like I said, the cons is the flexibility in investments. You can't use it for things that are not educational purposes, and there could be a penalty. There could be taxes if they're not for educational purposes. Those are some things you need to consider. And each state, like I said, is different. Each state's plan is different. There are some states that have better plans and better incentives and better investments. I saw that Utah, Oregon, Michigan, those were 3, and Massachusetts 4 had some pretty good plans. I didn't look through all of them, but so there were some states that have pretty good plans, and there's some states that have okay plans. You just gotta take a look. Like I said, I'm from Florida, and so when I looked, I saw that, if I signed up my kid before June 30th, I could get $50. So if you're in Florida right now and your kid is not signed up for a 529 plan and you want to do that, sign up before June 30th and you can get $50. That's a little bit extra incentive to sign up. All right, but what is the best plan for you? So like I said, we have UTMA, lots of flexibility and options when the child gets it, and then when the child receives all that money, you have 529, which is less options, less flexibility, but it's only used for educational purposes. So if you want your kid to start off with a good head start and you want to start investing for their future, and you're going to teach them on the way and also show them that, this money can be used for businesses, can be used for down payment, can be used for education, could be used to, just grow your wealth. A UTMA could be the right account. If you're looking for maybe something for education and you want to be able to grow an account for their education, and possibly if they don't, you have another kid you could pass it down to, or if you want to use education, then boom, that's a good way to go. A 529 plan could be that account for you. Now, if you're thinking about me and I want to think smart, I want to okay, I want my kid to have education. Yes. I want my kid to have a good head start. Yes. How can I do both of these? Well, you could. That's what you could do. You could do education, 529, and a UTMA. You could just start off with a small amount, maybe $1,000, and just invest $100 every month in each of these. You could even have, maybe if a grandparent wants to donate some money for college education, they could start today, and then you could just start that with a 529 plan or with the UTMA. I think I was thinking about, I was like, oh, why don't I just use both? Then I could set up my kid for the future with education and with a financial background. So maybe throughout college or university, she could be growing that money over and over. And then when she gets out, maybe she has money to start a business, or maybe she has money to help buy her first home. Those are some things that I was thinking about. So let me know in the comments, which one would you go with? Would you go with the UTMA? Would you go with the 529? Is this a good video to help you guys out? Let me know in the comments. And would you go with both? Now, this is just something I've been thinking about, helping my kid for the future. So this could help you as parents as well. All right, I'll see you guys on the next video, and you guys have a good day.